are the most important things to remember to do before your cruise? 27 days left. Here's the basics. Do all the online check-in, Faith. If you haven't done that yet, get everything done. Passport, vaccine card, selfie photo, get all those things done. Number 2, book any shore excursions. Now is definitely the time to book up every single shore excursion that you can. Sometimes you might say, well, Matt, I just want to walk around a particular port. That's cool. But if you want to do a tour, book it now. Number 3, obviously, I'm assuming you have all your transportation and hotels booked. If you were looking at hotels or rental cars, now would be a great time to circle back on that, double check pricing, be good on that. And then otherwise, really, I would start looking at past cruise compasses if you can, Faith, for your sailing, so you have an idea of what activities are on there. But I think the most important thing you can do right now is to do as much as you can before the cruise to pre-plan it. Nervous about going on a full capacity cruise or Memorial Day weekend? Any tips for dealing with a crowded ship? That's a really good question, Lindsay. First and foremost, we all obviously a crowded ship or a full ship is what cruising was like before the pandemic. In the last 12 months or so, a little less than that, right? We were very spoiled in having a lot of ships that were operating at very less capacity. And it was wonderful because it was like having a ship to yourself, but that's not really how the cruise industry operates. They 100% capacity is what they're aiming for. So here's what I'll tell you when it comes to, navigating a full ship. Number 1, you want to pre-plan as much as you can, obviously. This is a mantra I've been talking about even when ships were at 50% capacity. But what I mean by this is, and I'm not sure which ship you're on, but obviously when you get on board the ship, you want to make all the reservations for dinner that you'd like to make, assuming you're doing specialty dining. If you're doing my time dining, make reservations as well for that. You want to book up entertainment. You want to have your shore excursions planned out. You basically want to have as much booked in advance to leave as least as possible for chance in terms of things booking up or being unavailable for you. Beyond that, it's about the name of the game, Lindsay, is always about being early. I always found that most people, when they see an activity, an event, or an offering, and they see a time, they show up at that time. So, if we're talking about shows, if we're talking about activities, people tend to show up exactly on time. So if you show up 10, 20 minutes early, you can oftentimes beat that experience and you can miss the bulk of the line. So as an example, if you want to do laser tag and the first time is, I'm making up times now, 10 a.m., right? I would get there about 9:45 at the latest, if not a little earlier than that, and that way you can be among the first people in line. That's a huge benefit. And I always found that pre-COVID, that was a great strategy that worked for me. It just helped really get around the lines quite a bit. Are there any Caribbean islands Royal Caribbean does not serve that you'd like them to start up? Cuba. They did go there, obviously. We all know the reasons behind that, but I would love to see Cuba restarting. I think that's a absolute giant mistake that if they force the cruise lines not to go there anymore. I would love to see that come back. That's like with a bullet number 1. Beyond that, I'm trying to think of another answer. I mean, I would probably say maybe some of the more exotic Virgin Islands. There's a lot of them that are there, beyond the ones they go to. Some of the any of them that have, truly like those exotic ones might be kind of cool because I think people just love really beautiful, picturesque beaches. Have you ever heard of unreported COVID outbreaks on Symphony's latest cruise? The word outbreak is a very misleading and sensationalist term. Are there COVID cases on board cruise ships? Yeah, there's been COVID cases on cruise ships since cruising began, essentially. I remember I was on Adventure of the Seas, and there were 2 or 3 cases on those first sailings, right? Are there COVID cases on board? Yeah. Are the people being handled and treated, and in some cases, brought home, depending on length of the cruise? Yeah. But no one's dying. No one's the ships aren't being what's the word? Not isolated, but they're not being like held back. It's not like anything that you saw in early 2020. There have been and there will be COVID cases on board ships. But the important thing to understand is that, again, almost everybody on board is vaccinated. There are no hospitalizations. People are being treated and quarantined appropriately, and the cruise is going on. The next sailing is going on right there. So, we as a society need to move past this idea of, all about cases. We've already, I can't tell you how many health experts have been talking about this, right? That it's not about COVID cases anymore. It's about hospitalizations, right? And in this case, that's not really the case. We're not seeing that. There are COVID cases. They're being treated properly. And in many cases, they're asymptomatic or very mild conditions. But the bottom line is that, the only reason we know about them is because the cruise industry goes above and beyond. I mean, can you guys imagine if they did COVID testing for every single person who went on airplanes, or here in the US, I'm talking domestically, theme parks, hotels, casinos? I mean, talk about outbreaks. That's where it would be, because that's where it has been, but they don't do testing there. Whereas the cruise lines obviously have above and beyond protocols. And that's really what, that's why we have this information. Otherwise, we wouldn't know about it. But the bottom line is there have been COVID cases, there will be COVID cases, but it's not something you need to worry about because of the great protocols on board that limit the spread. Like half the ship has it by any means. It's a very, very small percentage. We're talking about, 1 or 2%, something like that. So you got to keep it in mind, Is there a newer ship than Wonder planned? Yes. There's actually 4 more ships that we know of that are definitely ordered. You've got, Tammy, you have Icon of the Seas, the first Icon class ship coming out next year. Then you have Utopia of the Seas, which is another Oasis class ship like Wonder, and then 2 more Icon class ships coming out. So there's going to be a new Royal Caribbean ship every year for the next 4 years, essentially. And who knows if they'll order more beyond that. If I choose a dinner seating time, are you sitting at the same table guests for the rest of the cruise? Yeah, if you have traditional dining, so your dinner's at either 5:30 or 8 or whatever, yes, you're gonna have the same table mates, and same wait staff. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be seated with other people, although there's a good chance of it. You might have a private table, but it will be the same table and same wait staff for the duration of your cruise. That is correct. Book the Transatlantic on Odyssey for April 23. I plan to work from the first week at sea. How do you think the internet will hold up for work? Odyssey's Voom is pretty good. As some of you guys may know, the internet speeds on a Royal Caribbean ship, despite the fact they're all called Voom, it's not all Voom. It really depends on the ship. Some perform better than others. So it's a matter of, I think, in my opinion, it depends on what ship you're going on. That being said, the Transatlantic, I've heard good things about their internet when they did their Transatlantic this summer. So I have reason to believe you'll be okay with that. I would not go on it. Like, if you have like a your job depends on it moment, I might be a little leery of that. But yeah, this is a lifelong fan of Disney cruises. Why should I choose Royal Caribbean as my next cruise? I'd love to hear your thoughts. New subscriber, by the way. Thank you for becoming a subscriber. So really what it boils down to, I've done a video, maybe you've seen it already, where I compare Disney and Royal Caribbean. Here's the answer to your question. And by the way, in the interest of full disclosure, I started off cruising with Disney and came over to Royal Caribbean. Essentially, the experiences are very similar. Disney and Royal Caribbean are mass market cruise lines that appeal to families. That's pretty much their core DNA. There are some things that Royal Caribbean does better. There's some things that Disney does better. Those are all, we can sit here all night and debate which things each line does better. But they're more similar than they're not. That's the bottom line that a lot of people don't realize. They're very similar cruise lines. They're both very similar family cruise lines. But the reason why you should change, primarily, there's other reasons as well, but the primary reason is the cost. Disney cruise line prices are insane. On average, you're going to pay 2 to 3 times more for a Disney cruise than a Royal Caribbean cruise. That's utterly insane for a non-luxury, non-premium cruise line. If this were, a cruise line where everything's included, okay, that's, you got to make an understanding there. But no, the only thing that's included with your Disney cruise fare that's not included with the Royal Caribbean cruise fare is, the complimentary soda in some venues. Okay, that's $8 a day on Royal Caribbean if that's a really big deal for you for a soda package. But beyond that, now factor into the idea that Royal Caribbean ships are newer, more innovative, have more to do, go to different places, sail out of many different ports. I just don't know how you can justify going on Disney. No offense. I mean, Disney's product is aimed at, in my opinion, people obviously who love Disney, who are also, I think, a little new to the market, as in they're not, they trust Disney, they love Disney, so they, it's like the natural evolution. Like, oh, we love Disney movies, went to Disney World, the Disney theme parks. Now, oh, we have a cruise line. Let me try that out as well. That's my take on it personally. But it all boils down to the cost. It's not that it's expensive, because, some things are worth spending a little extra in this world for. But the Disney price is insanely expensive, and I just can't justify that. It says, Matt, I heard you talking in an old video about a drink bundle, 10 drinks for a discount. Is that something that's still available? Not really, no. You're right. I mean, that was the thing. You're remembering correctly. But I have not seen it since the pandemic. It was a method, Amelia, for generating revenue on ships. Basically, what would have happened was on select sailings, the revenue manager would be looking at the revenue, go, Dios mio, that's crazy. That's terrible. We're not making any money. What are you guys doing over there? So, maybe not. Maybe that was a bit of a dramatization. Would halfway through the cruise offer a drink card. It was a punch card. You pay $80 or whatever it was, and you get 10 drinks. But it's almost not worth mentioning because they haven't brought it back since cruising restarted. So they don't have any problems with selling them on there. I've heard the vendors at Labadee are uncomfortably aggressive. Do you feel this way? Also, do any other non-royal cruises go to Labadee? The answer is yes. I've heard those things. I've seen those things. I feel like it really does vary. I was just there in Labadee when I was on Wonder of the Seas, and they were aggressive. I think more so than they should be. So I was lucky. I guess I was by myself, and I guess I don't look like a sucker. So they only mildly bought. I was just no, thank you. I'm all set. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Like that's totally sufficed. I think the issue is people who stop and actually look at the stuff, which is unfortunate because on the one hand, you want to support these people and maybe buy a souvenir. On the other hand, you don't need somebody who's like, doing what I would consider, underhanded, but things where they're like, oh, here's a free something. Like, okay, it's free because we have to give you a tip, right? Like those kinds of things. The good news is those vendors are relegated to the area between Nelly's Beach and Columbus Cove. So if you don't walk to Columbus Cove, you won't have to worry about it. But otherwise, just be firm and say no thank you, and move on. And do any other non-royal cruises go to Labadee? The only one that goes to Labadee has been Celebrity. I don't know since the pandemic if they've done that, but in the past, Celebrity Cruises did that. Can you please explain how messaging through the Royal Caribbean app works? Yeah, it's really easy, Milo. Once you get on board the ship, Milo. Once you get on board the ship, you open up the Royal Caribbean app. You actually can see it right now, but it won't do anything. Anyway, in the top right corner, there's a little bubble, little icon. Click on that, and it will say, hey, welcome to the Royal Caribbean chat. For $1.99 per person per day, you can activate it. You click on activate, and that's it. And then it's like messaging in any app you probably ever used before. It's pretty easy, but every person has to purchase it if you want to use it. So, if it's you and your spouse, then you and your spouse get it, right? And then basically, all you need to add somebody is their last name and their room number, and you can add them in there and send them a message. It's really easy to do that. So hopefully that makes sense there. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe out there. We'll be back again with you live right here on next Monday here on YouTube. Until then, have a great day. We'll talk again real soon right here on YouTube. Bye, everybody.